What?
Welcome to our interview series, BACKCHAT, this time for Overwatch. Oh, we've got some special guests today. We've got some delightful guests. We've got Dante and Joobi from the Houston Outlaws. Dante, Joobi, how have you been doing? What's going on over in Houston? We're not too far away, but it feels like a different world out there.
We're good. We just had a really long day. A lot of review, match tomorrow, and then a match the day after, scrims and stuff. Just a really long day, so we're gonna do this now.
Yeah. How is the process like for you, Joobi? Like launching into an Overwatch League team? What's the actual bread and butter of like scrims, review, all of that shit? Was it similar to what you were doing in collegiate at all?
No, not at all. I mean, I was still scrimming, and actually my college team was like pretty strict with like being at scrim, so I'd usually scrim like 4 hours a day, but there's a lot less effort put into it, and then I would just do schoolwork usually, if not that. Like we didn't review much.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Is the review the biggest difference between the two, and like the amount of time?
Well, we definitely scrim a lot more. Yeah, we do like the long days here are like 8 hours, 12 hours, and long days at Harrisburg were like 4 hours. Usually we'd have like one block a day.
Yeah.
Harsha working these guys too hard, bro. What's Harsha doing for those 8 hours? What is he doing? He's probably watching
Gym 8 hours.
Josh. Yeah, he's probably just hanging out.
Matt, that's how you win. That's how you win,
What?
Matt. You wouldn't know.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know.
What do you mean? How would I not know?
You wouldn't know. You've never won anything in your life. You've never put in hard work not in a single day in your life.
I haven't coached a game in Call of Duty in like 8 years. I still have the most like titles coached.
Yeah. Coach being the important word.
They're adding extra fucking tournaments each year trying to catch me.
So I assume that this is all in preparation as well for like the Battle for Texas kind of thing.
Oh,
is there any particular weight onto that game in like above the others? Because it's not just Texas, because that's the thing that everyone narratively hooks into, but because it's Dallas, they're an elite level team. They've been dunking you guys actually when it comes to the Battle for Texas when they've been qualifiers. You've lost 0-3, 0-3. Well, but the thing is, you guys won at the beginning of the season, like the week 1 game. I'd forgotten. We were talking about it last week, and I'd forgotten that you guys had played each other 3 times already. I thought this was like the first or second time you guys were playing.
You also didn't know you could buy owl tokens, so I wouldn't really kind of look at you as the one of information.
That's true. That is true.
I think we kind of got comp gapped the last couple last times we played them in the playoffs or play-ins, whatever it's called. But you know, it's not an excuse. We could have prepared better and played our comps better. But we thought they looked good in scrims because when you play against other teams, the teams we were scrimming against, I think they were middle table tier teams. And it feels really good. Like those comps felt really, really good against those teams. But then Dallas just like came out on another level and made us think about a lot of different things that we didn't think about before. And like we thought about a lot of stuff, and they kind of just owned us for those.
Yeah, I always find that to be a very weird part of Overwatch, where stuff you think it's good, you run it against mid-table teams, it batters them. And then you try and run it against the best teams, and it falls flat. And it seems to happen. I mean, Dante, you can speak to this as well, because I feel like it's happened with the Houston Outlaws quite a lot. Even last year when it came to the 2020 season, it felt like quite a lot of the time, the players, coaches are all pretty confident that whatever you've got up your sleeve is pretty good. And then the fans are like, they're saying they're doing all right in scrims, it's working in scrims, and then it just doesn't work when it comes to match day. Is that because the teams that you're playing against they're on like a slightly different level, whereas the preparation maybe isn't quite on that same level?
I think last year it was different. I think last year we were kind of just good because everyone was just good at their own roles and stuff, and we weren't consistent. Like we were good because someone would just hard carry in scrims or something.
Right.
Like last meta, we played a lot of Pharah, and Hydration was just really, really good at Pharah. So he would like hard carry, or I would just hard carry on Tracer, or Blase would just like hard carry on Hog. So it just worked because we were all really good at our roles. But in match, people are more prepared for this stuff. Like they probably heard we were using Pharah or saw like Hydration playing a bunch of Pharah in ranked. So they prepared a lot for it probably, and it kind of fell apart because they're playing to like win the match, not the scrim. and it's a lot harder to make pop-off moments during match because people are just a lot more aware. And that was the issue last year. This year, I think, I don't know. The only times we've had like problems with comps is against Fuel, and it's just because they're so good
Right.
and they have like a really explosive style. I think the only time we got comp gap besides that was against Atlanta because we just didn't know Orisa was OP. But we've had pretty good reads on most of the metas besides our play-ins matches.
Is it just because Dallas plays at a different pace than everybody else, or is it just like some of the stuff they run just doesn't like you kind of see like a meta develop over a bunch of the teams, and then I know we always wait for Dallas to come out and they're running something completely different, and then 2 weeks later everybody else is trying to run that.
I think they're just really smart with the way they play. Like we actually played the rush comp a lot. The Winston Echo Reaper. I think we like kind of started that comp actually.
Oh, really?
Like the first day of scrims, I wanted to play that because I was like, what if you just play Sombra, or what if we play Echo instead of Sombra since it's banned? And then we started doing that first couple days. We actually played Fuel before they were playing it, and then I think they like started playing it after they played us. So that's kind of ironic. But
Okay. You caused your own demise. Oh.
yeah, basically. But we got pretty good at the comp, but then we felt like it was kind of capped by some comps that were beating us and stuff. So we kind of walked away from it, and then more teams started playing it because I guess teams just got better with it, and it's kind of weird that when you play certain teams. Like, for example, the APAC teams, they don't really play any of the Orisa teams here. They don't play against, like, Orisa, Torb, like, all the weird shit. So they never know, like, there can be comps that exist in APAC that, like, don't exist, or comps that exist here that don't exist in APAC, so they don't know, like, what's countered by what. And, like, depending on the teams you scrim, you won't really know what counters what if you don't play against certain teams. So a lot of teams just have really different reads on the meta.
Yeah. It's incredibly interesting how much it makes a difference in this game, honestly, compared to a lot of other esports. Like, it feels like getting a good read on what's good defines so much of how successful you're able to be, because it's not like you can really, I don't know, even if you're playing the same small role with only a couple of heroes, it doesn't feel like you can adjust really quickly to be excellent at another meta really fast. Like, you still need the practice and the time to be able to go through it. I don't know, Joobi, what do you feel from like playing, I mean, like Lucio or Brig and a bunch of different comps? If the meta switches up but you're still playing that role, how much does it shift for your brain, right? Like, as you're coming into Owl and you're playing all of these variety of things, your actual agent. I just recorded a Valorant show earlier in the day.
This guy is
my mind.
unbelievable.
Yeah, your hero pool doesn't change that much, but the style in which you're playing does have to shift a bit. How much of that is like messing with you?
I think for all the main supports, at least in this meta, it's like most of the time it's like a completely different game. For me, if you're playing like Brig versus Lucio versus Mercy, it feels like completely different. It's a completely different playstyle, so that would greatly affect it.
I'm curious as well. You guys mentioned it. When you guys watch APAC, because APAC plays very different comps typically than NA. Well, I mean, that was a nice way to say it. What is your guys even thought? Like, are there compositions that you guys see in APAC that you were like, that may be worth a try, or like that would be scary if we went up against, or do you guys kind of have the like, that's crazy, like I don't understand why they're not adjusting, like why they're not seeing what we're doing and playing that?
I feel like the APAC comps are kind of crazy. I think all the teams there just want to mirror dive, and they just want to like perfect dive and just make it work. And they want to like force the Sombra and just really make it good. And then NA, you just have like these shit tier teams that just have nothing going for them. So you just keep on changing comp until something like beats these dive teams. And like no one wants to do that in APAC. Like everyone's like confident in their dive. They're like, we could just be the best dive team.
Play dive, yeah.
But then you have like the bottom tier teams here that just like they're not confident in their dive, so they just play this random stuff, and then this random stuff turns out to be really good, and then they show a good team that, and then the good teams show the other good dive teams, like the just comps that are really hard to play dive into, and it spreads really fast in NA.
Like, what was it? Kai, I think, said he picked the Torb as a joke in a scrim, and then like it just stuck. Like it was like, oh yeah, let's just keep playing it. Like I find the APAC thing so interesting because I feel like that's how Overwatch was played like ages ago. Like it was like, oh well, let's just play different variations of dive, and they still haven't kind of graduated past that. Where
I mean, you say that though, Matt, but on the other hand, the Shanghai Dragons are also like they're very fast to pick stuff up.
They're so
and
skilled; they could do whatever the hell they want. I mean, look at the teams they're playing against. Come on now.
Yeah,
Like-
but like the ball stuff is
You
like
give
a
Joobi
unique
the LA
aspect to
Valiant,
that.
bro. He'll come out there playing. He'll play Echo. Fuck it. Am I wrong?
I don't know what Jubi's Echo looks like, to be honest. What does your Echo look like?
It's pretty good,
Yeah, how's
actually.
your Echo?
Ah,
See,
I think it's pretty
okay.
good. It's-
Yeah.
start him.
I've heard that shit before. I've heard that shit.
It's pretty easy, man. It's like the easiest DPS here.
It's so weird to think about because this meta, I don't know what it's like in APAC, but I'm assuming most teams are all playing this like really similar stuff because you know a lot of the comps have been so similar. But these last few weeks of scrimming have been so confusing because literally every team just plays different stuff. Like you have Glads like the first week are playing Sombra Doomfist. They're the only team that plays it,
Yeah.
and
That was
it'll
wild.
just. Yeah, it'll just hard counter like certain
Genji.
teams. Like if there's like Ryan Rush one tricks, like the Mei Sim one tricks, like the Sombra Doom would just hard counter their style. And then you have Paris who's like playing like these weird ass Orisa comps and stuff. And there's just every team is playing different stuff.
Everybody starts playing Symmetra all of a sudden, TPing around the world. Like,
Yeah, but that
were-
seems like it was popularized by like Dallas back in the main melee, and it feels like people couldn't adjust to it back then. Dante, you talk to me about like the difference between the main melee and now, because in theory the game has not really shifted that much since then, but the actual meta has shifted a lot since then. It doesn't seem to me to be due to any significant patch change, at least as far as I could tell. It seems to be more to do with the teams understanding how like certain comps counter other comps and like leaning into certain styles. Am I wrong there? Was there some patch change you think made a big difference?
I think there were small changes that
Yeah, there was
kind
like
of.
little patches.
Yeah, I think it does make a difference, but in general, I think the game has been really, really balanced this Owl season. Like, I think there's been so many different comps, and it feels like anything can work against certain teams. Like, I guarantee if Paris went to APAC, they would probably do, like, unironically really, really good, just because I think they are really good at playing against, like, Sombra and stuff. In the start of the stage, we started playing, we started with playing a lot of Sombra. And there were just some comps we felt were just so hard countered by like we just felt like we couldn't win with Sombra, but APAC like perma plays Sombra, and I don't think they probably ran into those comps. I don't know. The meta's just so diverse.
Okay.
It's like
Can you
anything
talk?
can work.
What? I assume it was you playing the Sombra. What does Paris do so well against you? Is it like the constant checking everywhere? Is it the backline being very good at like fending you off? Is it just the comp doesn't give you options to farm? What's the deal?
I think the comps they play were just really difficult for Sombra. They played a few different things, but Sombra never really felt good against them. And I don't know, maybe I could have played it better, or we could have prepped it better. Like maybe that's like one thing the Apex teams do really well is they like prep with their Sombra. But I feel like that hero is kind of capped, and NA has never really played much Sombra in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
The way I
that's very
feel
true.
about it, I feel like with good preparation against Sombra, you can deny Sombra really well. And I don't know, NA has always liked these weird comps like Orisa, Torb, like weird stuff just to counter it. But APAC has always just been like dive, dive, dive. So I don't know how I feel about it, honestly.
Okay.
Uh,
Go on, Matt. What?
no, I was gonna say, I think with like how because you mentioned like yeah, like if you think back in previous seasons of the Overwatch League and just I mean any I think kind of level of Overwatch esports, I don't think we've seen this variation of like compositions. Like I guess it's in your guys' opinion, is it part like teams now are just developing stuff independent on maps or opponents, or is it just the game is really well balanced right now?
I think the game is actually just really well balanced right now. And the comps you play, and the comps the other teams play, like kind of determine like you really have to think about your opponents and you really have to think about their strengths and stuff. So if you're playing like a team with like a one trick Sombra, then you know like to play a really anti Sombra comp, and I think that style can actually work with the way the game is balanced right now, just because like so many heroes can work. So
Right.
I feel like it's just a game of like rock paper scissors with the other team. You have to like think you know what they're playing, and then you have to think about what would be good going into it.
There's
Crazy.
been
Yeah.
there's been a huge amount of Symmetra being played, and I anticipate. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but if we think again about the Battle for Texas coming up, your game against Dallas. I mean, they've been running a lot of the Ryan Sim kind of stuff too. So, assuming that they stick to that kind of thing, your team seems to be running more of the kind of static stuff, a little more of the Orisa. I mean, here we've got you playing the exact same kind of stuff, not with the Doom necessarily, and with the Sigma in the mix, but it's similar. Is there some proprietary stuff that you've built to kind of prep for that? Because what we've been noticing, what we've been noticing is a lot of the stuff has been kind of, when we were watching like the Mayhem play against Dallas, for example, a lot of it was about like trying to anticipate teleport locations, or it seemed like it, to try and shut down the Symmetra TPs. Are we overthinking it, or is this some like galaxy brain shit that's going on here with the Sim TP strats? Because otherwise, it feels like your backline just gets destroyed.
I don't know. I don't want to answer like exactly what we do, but
Sure.
Yeah.
like I
You
think
can trust Josh. He's never leaked anything before. This won't air before the match. Yeah.
We'll hold this. We'll post it in like 2021. Don't worry about it. Wait, it is 2021.
Right.
I think the thing that makes like Sim strong is there's just so many options. Like you can't plan for every single TP on every single map and like every single ult condition. So a lot of it's like on the fly, and that makes him strong. I think that's another thing that makes Sombra strong is like the ult game and stuff and the mind games. I think that gives Sombra like a buff during matches kinda. So maybe that's why she's played like so much in APAC.
Yeah.
But to go back to the question about the sim stuff, you prep for some stuff, but you can't prep for everything.
Right.
Like just whatever's manageable.
Who's important on your team in terms of calling that kind of stuff on the fly? I guess historically, a lot of it's come from like, I don't know. I mean, historically, a lot of the stuff has come from either like main tanks or main supports have done like that. We think of them as being more of the leadership figures a lot of the time on the team.
Yeah.
But you guys are playing with 3 rookies a lot of the time, and especially in your main tank and main support positions. So I'm making the assumption here that people like, I mean, yourself, Joobi, have not come in and instantly become like team leaders because you're not that veteran talent. But a lot of the calling does end up being more kind of spread across everyone in Overwatch. I'm aware of that. But if you're talking about like on the fly, real snap decision stuff, who are the people that normally step up in the Houston Outlaws this year?
Could be like anybody really. It's not really set on one specific person. It just kind of depends on like who's the one making the play, or who has their ult, or who's like gonna have a big impact on the fight. It's not like one specific thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
person.
we all review together, so we're all generally on the same page. But normally, there's heroes that are really easy to call on. Like for me, I can talk a lot more on heroes like Mei and stuff. But when I'm like playing Echo against another Echo and then a hit scan flanking me and stuff, like I'm not that focused on calming and stuff because there's just so much going on that I have to like pay more attention to the game. But when I'm AFK or like mentally AFK on heroes like Mei and Sombra, just the easier heroes, like not mechanic demanding, and like you're not just gonna instantly die like on Tracer or Echo. You can call a lot more on heroes like that. And
Is that
that's
why
why
you
main
find yourself
supports,
doing that?
yeah, for me, like when I'm playing DPS and I'm on the less like mechanic heroes, I talk a lot more. And I think that's kind of why main supports and main tanks are like known for being like shot callers and stuff, because their roles aren't the most mechanic demanding. So they have a lot of time and like ability to just talk during the fights. They're not like a Widow player sitting in the back, just like hard focusing on trying to hit their shots. So it's like a lot easier to talk on those roles.
I want to ask Joobi, what does it feel like coming into the league and having such an insane record against the defending champions? You guys have beaten the Shock like right at the beginning of the year, and then coming straight out of the second half of the year, instantly beating the Shock again. Is there some kind of I feel like if I put myself in your position, the Shock are the big bad team of the league. They've won the last 2 years until you entered. It feels like those would be big wins for getting confidence up, for feeling like you can beat anybody. Even if Shock aren't actually the best this year, the literal best, they have been for so long that I feel like there would be an emotional attachment to those wins. Is that the case? Were those special in any way?
Definitely the first time, especially since it was our second match and it was like the crazy scoreline that it went and how close it was.
Sure.
I was definitely like freaking out over that. I was like, oh my god, we beat the Shock. But later on, after watching them play other matches and playing them again recently, it, like kind of like I don't really care anymore. It's just another team. It
Okay.
doesn't have that effect anymore.
All right. That's an
They're just
actual
another
championship
They're just
mentality.
another
The only-
team on those standings now.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well-
I don't think so.
Yeah. What is it? What is for coming into the league? What was like the biggest thing that surprised you, like that you didn't expect when you came into the league?
I guess I was surprised about how like I thought how do I explain it? That like everybody would be more or all the teams would be more like put together, like everybody knows what they're doing all the time. But in reality, like a lot of teams are just kind of like winging it. It feels like a lot of the times, or like trying new stuff all the time. Like I thought it would be a lot more like well knit and put together and stuff, but it's not. It's not
Yeah.
that much different from.
What he's trying to say, Reddit, is not every play is scripted down to the second. So sometimes when you watch something, right, just really good gamers being like, "Hey, we should do that." I see that happening. It's not because I feel like I don't know. I mean, Josh is he's another reason this stuff happens because he does VOD reviews to thousands of people and just tells everybody everything's a set play. But you can see that some of the stuff is just like on like you can't practice for everything. Like I mean, you guys would just be there all like literally all day, like for all different scenarios. Eventually, like
They kind of are already.
Yeah.
but eventually your guys' skills have to kick in though, just in adjustments.
Yeah, I think being able to read the game is like really important. Like no team has ever went Zen like Violet did. So I haven't played much Tracer at all because most teams were just playing the rush comp. So I've been like perma playing Mei. But I just saw like Zen. I was like, oh, Tracer's just so easy against Zen. So I just went Zen.
Same with the Lucio too. We're not prepared for that, but we just went.
Yeah. You kind of just have to be able to make decisions on the fly. Like you can prep for what you think they're gonna go, but there's a lot of different variables. So
Oh, how many teams in Overwatch history have we seen just get punished? Like what was it? It was like the season 1 London Spitfire. Like the coaches would basically just tell them a comp and they would say, yes, we're gonna run this comp. And even if it wasn't working and the other team hard countered it, they just continued to just smash their face in. Like
Yeah, that was quite tragic watching them play, actually, at that point. Yeah. Yeah, but I also think that, a lot of the stuff, though, is not... I mean, it's not that everything's a set play, but it's like you already... I feel like a lot of the time when I watch teams, you can tell that they already know what their teammates are doing from scrims. Like, they know that if they call to do something, they already know what the reaction is going to be from the rest of their team, you know? And so they can work around that because they're just so gelled from playing scrims with them all the time. I suppose that's something else that you guys are working on while you're playing, right?
yeah, I want to go back a sec. One thing I want to talk about is comp changes can be like really simple, like the Violet one, where I just went Tracer. But on the other hand, if you're playing a hero like Brig and you want to go Lucio, or if you're playing like Mercy, for example, and we're playing Echo Mercy, and we want to go Lucio, like it's really hard to swap because then you have to swap Echo, and then you're like swapping two heroes that like you don't play normally. And then if that means you have to swap another one, because like maybe I go Mei or something, and we're playing Ryan, and then that's something we've never ever practiced. We're swapping 3 heroes off. Like sometimes it's not beneficial to do that. Sometimes it's better just to have like a small disadvantage and go with what you practice.
then you've given up 3 ultimates at that time as well.
Yeah. So,
This the second game against the Shock as well. The narrative is very interesting in the scene right now too, because the Shock are the defending champions and they've made some changes in the offseason, and I think there's been a big debate among fans and among like people, pundits as well, about whether the Shock look like they're degrading and falling off, or whether the competition level has just massively increased. I think the same could be said for like the Mayhem as well, to some extent too, where it looks like they've fallen off a bit, but the extent on the standings to which they've fallen off, and they're like on a 7-match losing streak, is massive in comparison to the eye test how much they've fallen off.
Kirk,
So,
can you roll that again? Joobi's reaction is just fucking excellent. This, by the
oh
way.
This was
Just like
this
the
was when he
camera
beat the
shots
shock the
at
first
end.
time.
Yeah. Like it looks like the weight of the world is lifted off his
I was
shoulders. Just
shaking,
like
bro.
almost
I
like
was
he almost just like passes out in his seat.
no, I was like, no way we win that. Like, no way we hold that. I was like, actually, like, I was freaking out.
It was bonkers. It was an insane way to like kick off the season.
You keep looking
Yeah.
back at the monitor like, wait, hold on. That's right, we won.
Yeah, we got the kill. We got the fire strike kill on Violet, and I was like internally like freaking out. I was like, holy shit, we can actually win.
That was actually the most hype moment this season for me.
Yeah,
Just
seriously.
the last like 30 seconds when I was like his last fight, I pressed tab. We have like 4 ults, and they just used everything. I was like, holy shit! Like
Yeah.
let's just win.
Casting this was crazy because it looked like they could have just like it was their game to win, and then Jungkook at the end, like coming around the corner with the shatter, it felt like it was like slow motion. It felt like the slowest walk around the corner I've ever seen.
The silent carry of that, where we actually turned it around, is where Happy was behind, and he trades. I think he trades the Glister, right? He kills Glister. We could actually come back and touch, and we ended up winning the fight and holding
Yeah.
it. Like I actually thought we lost that fight because you could see I think I used beat when we were down 2 because I was like, fuck, we're not gonna get another contest. But we actually did, and then we came back and won. So
This has
Yeah.
definitely been the craziest fight all year, I think.
I think this has been the craziest match as well. Like not only
Yeah.
that, but like the fact it was 6 maps in a BO5, and it's like this insane comeback where not only does the shock full hold the Outlaws, but then the Outlaws managed to get an even fuller hold.
Fuller hold.
Yeah. At the
Yeah.
very beginning, yeah, because also, like I said, the narrative at that point was the Shocker. Can they three-peat? That was the beginning of the year. People are still expecting the Shock to be the big bad end bosses. But I mean this was all absolutely nuts. The point I wanted to ask you though is, do you agree with? I think it was Deepe's tweet. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
it was Deepe who tweeted, it's not that the Shock and the Mayhem have really fallen off that much. It's that the competition level has gone massively up. I mean, I specifically want to ask Dante here because you played in the league for the last 2 years for the Houston Outlaws, and the improvements that, I mean, maybe you're the wrong person to ask, to be honest, because your team absolutely has gotten a huge amount better. But you're also scrimming against the entire rest of the league, so you must have some idea of whether that translates to everyone else too.
Yeah, I think every year the level of the league goes up a lot. Like every season, there's been a big talent jump. Like season 1 to season 2, it was a huge talent jump. I think season 3, I mean, there's still like a lot of good new players that year. Like Yaki, Kai. It's probably more. I can't think right now, honestly.
Yeah.
I had a really long day, so my brain's like not working right now. But I think every year there's a big talent jump, and this year was like another big one. You got a lot of good rookies like Jungkook, Piggy, Pelican, Joobi. Maybe not Joobi, but there's always a lot of good rookies, so the talent does go up, and it's sometimes hard to keep your talent up. Like Shock has done a good job the last 2 seasons, but sometimes it's hard to just like keep going. Like how can you be the best like 3 years in a row? Like it's so hard. And then you have Striker retiring and stuff, and it's just hard. Like everyone's getting better, and you can only get so much better. I mean, yeah, I guess.
And it's not really luck, but like there are only so many times you can go into like these series against top teams and it go to like game 5 or even like close 4 mappers, and like you always make the play like every time and come out on top. Like eventually teams like yourselves, like Atlanta, like they start to play at that same level and they can gate those type of things, and then like in high pressure scenarios match that. The only thing I would say, especially with deep pastry, is I feel like the competition definitely has gotten better. Typically, when the competition like it would raise the level of their play as well, right? Like if you were the Mayhem and the Shock both have fantastic players across these teams. Like this is a team that has like BQB, Yaki, Gargoyle, and Gangnam Jin like on the same team. Like that's like kind of cracked. Like playing against teams like yourselves, like in scrims, like I assume from the beginning of the year, playing against all these teams consistently, you guys have gotten way better, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Like
I don't know.
yeah, you would think like all of the teams, like with teams with that type of talent, you would expect them to get better as well. Where I think the Mayhem definitely, like you look at them, like that's Mayhem roster is better than a 4 and whatever they are roster, like 4 and 8, I think. Like the Shock are still like third in North America.
Well,
I
yeah, the
think that's
Shock is
just
still doing well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Their match
there's
record
just
is still
people
good.
angry on the internet about something. I mean, the Florida Mayhem, you're like, okay, yeah, they could probably be.
Yeah. Joobi, how
Sorry,
much do you feel
Florida.
like you've improved, like on an individual basis since coming into the league? And do you think that's because you've been in the league?
Certainly, yes. I think I've improved like in infinite amount. I honestly, I surprised myself with how much I've improved because I don't think I have, and then I like take a step back and like compare myself to before I was in the league or when I just joined or whatever, and it's actually like a huge difference. So
What are the Oh, sorry, go on, Dante.
This guy was a Lucio one trick. He was like when I was a Tracer one trick when I first joined the league. Like, I could only play Tracer. Actually, I could play Sombra too, but I, I don't know. You just get so much better over time, and you get better on heroes that you don't play that much. Like before, I didn't really play heroes like Mei and stuff, but you just get better with scrims, with experience.
Because you've been playing, you were really playing a lot of the Lucio at the start, but and then Jake would come in and play some like the Mercy or the Brig. But now I see you're playing the Brig and the Mercy a lot of the times as well, GB.
yeah, I think a lot of it was like a confidence thing. Uh, Prior to joining the league, I had like little to no experience on like any other hero in pro play other than Lucio. I played all the supports, but like I just mean like an actual like in a contenders match or something. It was usually just like a Lucio meta. I played Brig and Double Shield, but like I didn't have a lot of experience on those heroes, and I like get in my own head about it a lot.
What do you think has made the difference? Like, do you think that you've improved on like the decision making aspect, the like team play of understanding what your role is within the squad, the mechanics of whatever? What has been the area in which that has made the most improvement?
I mean, experience definitely helps. Like just playing it all the time, it definitely helps. But I think the biggest thing for me is just my mindset.
What do you mean specifically by that? Like you feel like you know your place, and so you're confident being able to play all the
Yeah,
time.
a lot of times at the beginning, I wouldn't really understand my role, or I would like overthink a lot and get in my own head about like if what I was doing was right or not. But now I play
Right.
with a lot more confidence and stuff, so I don't, I just don't run into as many issues as before.
Is that just by scrimming, or is that also like the benefit of VOD review specifically, or Coach Jake having played Brig and Mercy and like doing personal review with you? Like, what's the method by which you feel like you've improved so much?
It's probably just a little bit of everything. It's not one specific thing, I wouldn't say.
Um, Dante, what's the biggest difference this year for the Outlaws? You guys went from, since you joined, I went and looked this up recently because I couldn't remember where Outlaws had finished. I hate to bring up the dark past, but you finished 16th in the regular season in 2019, I believe. And then I think 16th again in the regular season of 2020. And now, where are you in the standings? Like second in NA, third in NA, something like that?
Second, I think.
Right. They're like way up there at the top. This has been a massive shift. And it's not just the player personnel, it's all the behind the scenes shit as well. So what's, from your point of view as one of the only constants, what's been the changes around you done?
I think everything has just gotten better. The upper management, a lot better this year with coolmatt at GM. He handles things pretty well. He did a good job with like getting Junkbuck during the off season. Our coaches are all really good this year. Um, our players are like all good. Everything just got better. Literally every single thing got better. And um, this was last year we had a bunch of people on the 2+1s. Um, the contracts expired this year, so
Yeah.
we were able to just do a full rebuild, and I think that's a big part of it. Just getting fresh talent, hungry players and stuff. Because the last few years, I feel like the players kind of just uh, they just played because they got paid. Like the passion wasn't really there, and you can
Sure.
kind of tell with their work ethic and stuff. But this year, everyone plays the game so much. Everyone takes practice really serious. Everyone takes review really serious, and it's like so important for a team to have that.
How difficult has it been for you since the start of Owl? Because you were on the shock at the beginning, but then that roster completely like changed. And then now what? None of the players that you when you join the Outlaws, none of the players that you joined are still there, right? I mean, Jake is like the coach and coolmatt, but actual players, you're the only holdover, right?
Uh, you know, in my
How
first year, I think I got really, or my first couple teams when I was a tier 2 player and stuff, I got really sad when like teammates would come and go and stuff. But at this point, it's kind of just how it is. It's like your job. I'd rather see a teammate go than lose with that teammate for like a
ever?
year straight. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It's just how it is, and like I want to win. I don't want to lose because we're like having a friends club. That's really boring. I don't like losing. Just
Yeah.
want to win.
I'm curious. Do you feel because you were in the league at the beginning, but, like, and I imagine for you, GB, I think this is probably something for like new players. Do you feel like sometimes players like the goal is to make like Overwatch League, right? And once they make it, do you feel like some players don't keep that desire to keep going and like win and progress, and they're just like, oh, I made the league. This is great. Like I'm just here. Like this is fantastic.
Um, well, I can't relate to that because I didn't think that at all.
Yeah, exactly. You seem like you're grinding, but I think Dante from the beginning though, seeing like some players just come into the league and like did was there like did everybody always have the drive to win, or were there, like, I assume there were some people who were just like I'm just happy I made the league, like, and whatever happens after this happens.
Yeah, you can definitely tell with some people that they just don't have the work ethic. Some people are just like, oh, I get paid, I play, scrim's over, go home, do nothing. Um, I feel like you're never gonna be one of the best if you have that kind of mentality. The best players are always the people that work the hardest and practice the hardest. So
Did you feel
yeah.
trapped
Yeah.
like on the prior rosters in that situation? Because no, I mean that deadly seriously. Because when we looked at your prior rosters, we were like, Dante is a great player on a bad team, and it was like it was.
BACKCHAT owned a team, we would have bought you out, Dante. We would have got you. We
It
would
was
have
kind of
saved your
shocking
butt.
though. No, it seriously was because like you could tell the talent was absolutely there. It's just that you'd never actually been on a system where it was functional, where it actually worked. But the was there some level of frustration or relief when you realized the direction of Houston this offseason?
I was like really happy and really excited because right as we got Junkbuck, I knew how good of a coach he was, and I knew he'd do really good scouting and put in the work and like make a functioning team. I think people can pick up good players, but making a functioning team is another thing. There can be like 6 good players on a team, but if they can't play as a team, then it doesn't really mean anything. And I just really trusted Junkbuck going into it. And what was the thing before that? Sorry, forgot.
I was just asking whether you felt like trapped or frustrated on former teams as
Oh,
well.
okay. Um, I think I'm kind of lucky because I get to play the heroes that don't really need my team to be playing that well.
Right.
So and I can look good. Like I can just play Tracer and I can just do my own thing. And then my whole team dies, but I can still look good because I'm playing Tracer. But when I'm in heroes like May and stuff, it's like how do you look good when you just lose every fight? Like you just don't have enough of an impact on May, and that's how like main support can be, and just certain heroes and certain metas. It's just really, really hard if you're not on a functioning team.
It's
So
2019.
What the heck have we just brought up here? Oh, this
Kirk on
is
the 2019 standings.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I've never seen a
Nice.
table that looked like this before, but yeah, I guess this is all of the data you could possibly
Like, where the
use.
it's like where the hell did these teams even play? So it's like who the playoff teams here? All right, here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of wild. I mean, that's definitely the case where it's somebody who's on like a main support role would feel that much more, I imagine, where your impact is dictated a lot by your team's performance, by like how much you get your whole team is getting value. It's not like you individually can steer the fight massively every single time. There's some moments where you can, but not all the time. I imagine though there aren't really any frustrations if you're just winning, right, Joobi?
Yeah, I mean, just from like this is only from like a viewer standpoint where the main sport's gonna look bad at people that actually like actual teams and players and stuff are gonna know like who's good and bad if you actually like watch the person, you know what they're doing. But if you're just losing, like from a public perception, it's gonna look like you're just bad if you're playing mid sport.
Are there any main supports that you looked at this season that you were trying to like emulate or learn from, or people that you looked up to before you came into the league?
I like idolized Funny Ass Joe before. And it's Funny Ass Joe, but I mean, I still look up to Funny Ass Joe. Funny Ass Joe is like one of the only main sport players I respect anymore. I used to no, I guess it was just Funny Ass Joe. It still is Funny Ass Joe.
Okay, it's always been Funny Astro. It
Yeah.
sounds like the end of a romance novel, honestly. He hasn't been able to play that much this year. I've been really annoyed as well because I rate him as so highly. He's a nutty player, but we just haven't really seen him at his peak. It's been a weird time for Fusion fans. It really has.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the coaching as well. I want to know a little bit more about this too. So we've got coach and player Jake, and then we've also got Junkbuck and Harsha, the co-head coaches too. Junkbuck, obviously people know how good he is already, but I want to dig into coach and player Jake here just a little bit too, because when we were starting at the beginning of this year, we were scared about this because it's really weird. No team has tried this before where they have a player who's also a coach. And I think you can tell, I mean, from an outside perspective, it looks like there's danger there where you could have conflict on the team. Like, you might have situations where somebody thinks they play. It's unclear how much, like, power someone has. They're, like, not just a player. They're also part of, like, the people who are going to directly give you feedback, so they're almost elevated, but they're still playing with you. There's a lot of stuff there that could go wrong. Now, it doesn't seem like it has so far this season, but can you talk to me a little bit about like how the process works or whether you shared any of those concerns or how they were mitigated?
I'll say that I think a lot of those problems get negated automatically just because I don't know what Dante thinks, but just in my head, everybody has the same goal. They just want the team to do well and prosper and win. So like
Right.
it's not like it's like, oh, I want playtime here or like some shit. Like we're just trying to win. It's like whatever's best for the team, you know?
Right.
There's like
Yeah,
there's no problems like that.
yeah, I agree. I think also Jake, he's a really like fair person and stuff. Like, and there's been times where he's playing the Brig or the Mercy or something, and he'll be like, "Wait, like we might need Lucio here. Like, I don't think it's that." Like he just says that like we can play if we want him to, but he said that or he'll be like, "It might be a better idea for Joobi to play here because if they play Rush and we need a mirror Rush, then it's just better that we have the consistency."
Right.
Like, we don't want to put Jake on Lucio and stuff.
Sure.
So
You're not trying to violate him.
yeah,
Yeah.
He's the foot
he,
device.
yeah.
What's the coaching situation been like? I mean, compared to former years, you guys have really fleshed out coaching staff this year with some like big names. I assume that that's made a significant difference to the team's success as well. Do they deserve a large portion of the credit there?
Oh, you Joobi.
Oh, sorry. I'm gonna be honest. I just got like added in Discord and I was reading it, so I like have listened to you.
I was just asking. I was just asking about the coaching. Right, you've come from collegiate. The coaching difference, I'm going to assume, is a significant upgrade. I'm just going to assume that because Junkbuck's such a big name alongside Harsha, and you've got Jake there as well. Who's
Yeah.
got a ton of experience. How much credit should we be giving those guys for the Houston Outlaws' success this year?
So I don't want to sound mean, but I've been on a number of contenders teams and my collegiate team, which has people that have been an owl before. But most of the coaching I've ever had that on the teams that I've been on, it wasn't very helpful at all. It was just kind of like I don't know, I wouldn't even call it coaching. It was just somebody that was there. But I don't know how Junkbuck compares to other owl coaches because I've never experienced another owl coach, but it's actually crazy how much of an impact a good coach can have on a team. They I know they get enough credit already, but like it's a very big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to ask how much impact like have you have both of you guys seen with coaching throughout Overwatch esports history? I feel like we've all heard some coaches not be maybe not even really be coaches, just kind of like look over the shoulder and just be like, "Oh yeah, that was good." But like how has you how have you kind of seen coaching throughout Overwatch? Like how has it changed, evolved?
Um, I think the level of coaching the last few years has gone up a lot too, like the level of play. Season one, I feel like there were very few good coaches actually. But now I feel like there's a lot of teams that just have good coaches. Like our team, Shock, Yule, Philly. Like that's just
Yeah,
the
yeah.
that's literally just season one Shock, or
Yeah, it
not
is.
Yule, but
Yeah.
like the
And
season one
Rush, yeah.
Shock, like just like one core like is on like 4 different teams now,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's other good coaches that I haven't worked with and stuff. Um, but I think good coaches really make and break a team. Um, I feel like the teams that just look completely lost, they have no direction and they like no one to guide them. And they probably all have different opinions and want to do stuff differently. So you kind of need one person to like unify you and get everyone on the same page, and they need to be smart and know what they're doing.
Can you give us some examples from earlier in the year, some meta that isn't relevant anymore, of like the kind of stuff that your coaching staff would do specifically that you felt was useful, that like you wouldn't have really done yourselves if you would just play a run, or maybe had like a weaker coaching staff? Can you think of any specific examples that made like a big difference?
I think just a general thing, Junkbuck is really smart with what ifs and stuff, and he trains us to think for ourselves well.
Right.
But other coaches, I feel like he like really challenges me. Like if I tell him something is good here, and then he'll be like, "Why is it good?" And then I have to be like, "Okay, it's good because this." And then he's like, "What if they do this?" And then like, "What if this happens?" And then uh, I,
It's all right. We're allowed to curse here. It's all right. It's all right.
but yeah, I think he really makes you think, and it helps you be a better player because you have to think so much, and you're prepared for a lot of things.
Right, because the coach isn't there in the game as well, right? So it's not like, I mean, they can give you a game plan, but if you can't execute it in the game, it's not helpful. So getting the players to actually understand the game plan and understand how to pivot from that, it seems like it would be absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I think like some coaches, if they don't feel confident and stuff, they'll just be like, "Okay, you're right, Dante," and then and then I only see the game from my POV, and my teammates only see it from my POV instead of like challenging it.
Yeah. Uh, what's it been like to go 8-1 in the first half of the season? That to me, it exceeds my expectations for Houston dramatically. Did it exceed your expectations as well?
Yep.
As far as me, I didn't really know what to think going into season because I put a lot of the blame for like anything going wrong on myself because I just overthink a lot. But once we actually like definitely after the May melee, even after we lost, I was like I only expect us to just like win everything now. Like
Okay.
I don't have I have very high expectations for us now and for
Okay.
myself.
Yeah, I had high expectations going in. I think I pictured us top 3. That's how I wanted it to be, top 3.
Right.
So we're chilling at 2. I think that's what we said earlier. So I'm content with our expectations. Um, I was hoping we'd make it to Hawaii by now, but we have to do that this weekend, hopefully.
The
I don't know
What
when
have
the
you thought
start,
of the
but
format this year with how things have gone with the 4 matches and then a tournament?
I like the format a lot. I feel like it gives you something to be hyped for all the time. Because a long season, it's like who really cares if you're playing against Vancouver Titans? Like it just doesn't
Yeah.
really.
You're one of
It's
the holdovers of the every map matters season, the 40 game 4 maps every set.
yeah, that was something.
yeah.
But this everyone prepares like really seriously for these matches because literally just every map counts. Like every map counts towards your map score and seeding. And it makes it more exciting to watch other teams and stuff because you're like, oh well, if Philly beats Shanghai here, then that means that Chengdu's in the playoffs and or play-ins. I think it's really fun to watch other games because of that too.
Have you found yourself enjoying like like watching it more? Like watching the Overwatch League?
It's kind of hard because we practice so much,
Yeah.
so I don't think I watch that much, but I think it's more enjoyable
Okay.
because of the meta. The meta this year is like really diverse, so it's really fun to see what other teams are playing, and the tournaments make it more fun too.
What do you think has been the reason that? I mean, I've just realized as well that you went 7-1 in the first half. Like 8-1, playing 9 games in the first half is just nonsense. So I've messed up the calculations there. But anyway, I mean, you guys are 9-1 at the moment. That's incredibly good. What's the thing that's been holding you back from going to Hawaii? Do you think? Because this is an insane record. 7-1 is insane. It really is. But I think when people look back, it's always about, did you win titles? People will remember New York from season 1, but they don't really remember like Philadelphia Fusion being ahead of Shock last year in the regular season as much. It's the fact that Shock ended up winning the title that people will think of moving on in the future. What do you think has been holding you back from being able to take that next step?
Fuel.
Is that just it?
Just play fuel both times.
I don't know. What do you think, Joobi? I don't know.
I
It's
mean,
a
I don't know.
hard
We
question.
did just play fuel both times, and I think
Yeah.
our stats were
Oh, yeah,
like
we kind of
yeah,
just choked.
yeah. We kind of just like some weird stuff, but it's just fuel. If we were on the other side of the bracket, we would have just made it instead of like mayhem or whatever.
Yeah, like
Mm.
seeding.
Don't show the bracket. Don't show the bracket.
Like Mayhem's like 4-8 right now, and they fucking made it. Like
They're like the Toronto Defiant from that one season. They won 4. They went like, remember, was it season 2
yeah.
where they won like a million games in the first stage and then they didn't win again until like the
yeah.
end of the season.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
tragedy.
So we got a little unlucky with that, but obviously we have like a lot of rookies. We're a new team. We're still figuring things out. It's good that we have like a good record overall, because in the end, like you said earlier, no one's gonna remember the fucking Hawaiis. They're just gonna remember who won the grand finals in like 2 years from now. So it's good that we're like have a good core start. Like we're 9-1 or whatever we are, but it sucks that we can't win fucking Hawaii or make it to Hawaii.
Yeah. I mean, you still can.
I mean, yeah, we can. We have 2 more.
It's
chances.
possible. Yeah, I mean, it's doable.
You just haven't done it yet, but you still definitely could. It feels to me like those would be important games as well for getting like the big matches for experience for your rookie players as well, for people like Joobi, for Piggy, for Django as well. Are you concerned about that whatsoever at this point, Joobi? Like getting into serious big match environments with yourself and with the other players that have less experience on the big stage, or does it not really make a difference because you're not playing from some kind of like arena?
Well, I'm never gonna have an opinion on that until it actually happens, because like you never know. At least for me, I never really know what I'm gonna how I'm gonna react to something like that until it actually happens. But for the big matches, it definitely would have a lot more of an effect on me if it was actually like at a LAN on stage or something, which is something I've never experienced. But the big matches are definitely gonna affect me more. I would assume.
Yeah.
I'm not really worried for our rookies. I think everyone on our team has done a good job showing up in matches. So I think on stage will be a similar effect. You know, it was their first time playing in the Overwatch League, so that like probably had a lot of nerves and stuff. So playing in Hawaii or something, I think it might be maybe make people nervous the first map, but after that, I think everyone will be playing confident. Like I know for like me and Crimzo and stuff, we say we always feel a lot better on match day. Like I feel like I just get a new type of energy on match day.
Okay.
I just like wake up feeling so excited, and like I'm just like ready. Like I just feel good. And I feel like a lot of our team is like that.
Yeah. I don't know about you, Matt, but the biggest reason to me that Houston have overperformed my expectations is because I didn't really know how high the ceiling would be for Django and Piggy. I know that you guys have played with Dreamer as well this season, but a lot of it has been Django. You started the season with Django, you're playing with him quite a bit now as well, so I'm going to primarily focus on him. But the Django Piggy tank line I knew was highly rated by people that had played against Talon, and I know that Shock had been scrimming against them over in Korea too.
Back and said they were really good.
Yeah, and I'd seen them play, and they looked good on the heroes that they were playing as well. But it was a bit of like a scrappy team. It wasn't like there were some monsters that were playing in the tier 2 scene. So I didn't think that they'd be, world-class talents as soon as they came into the Overwatch League. What's it been like working with these guys? Because They popped straight from the beginning. And I don't know whether Piggy is paying IBM Watson, but that fucking computer is rating him as the greatest player in the world.
Yeah, IBM Watson loves that guy. What the hell is going on over there?
Junker and Happy looks like they're
Going
off
at it.
rolling. They're off rolling.
Oh. Kind of like somebody's being murdered.
It
Yeah,
did.
I think Junker just died a Happy on Anna.
That makes sense.
looked like.
That makes sense.
That is what happened. Playing Tracer on Blizzard World. But I really like our tank players. I think one thing that's actually really cool about them is it doesn't really feel like we have a weak meta with them. I feel like a lot of teams make it really obvious with who they want to play on tank. Like for example with Shock, if Super's in, you know he's probably gonna play the Rhine or the Orisa. But with Jangu, you just never know what he's gonna play, and that makes it kind of unpredictable and stuff. Like they see our roster, it's like, oh, it's just the same 6 players that always play. So it doesn't give away things. And it's also nice in case we ever need to like change like Ryan mid-map, or we need to play Ryan on offense or play on defense, and then we play double shield on offense or something. But like that's kind of something that Shock struggled with against us, where Smurf had to play the 2 shield on defense, and then he had to play Ryan, and he just has no practice on Ryan.
Yeah.
So I think that's one advantage we have, because we can just play like any comp with our
Yeah.
roster.
How are you guys able to integrate Dreamer so seamlessly as well? Like picking him up pretty much in the the middle of the well, not even like the beginning of the season, right?
I think one of the reasons Dreamer fit in really well is because he has really good English. Like,
Okay.
Right.
He's like fluent in English. It was very easy to communicate with him.
And we have like 5 pieces that have been working with each other for a while, so putting
Yeah, it
one
was-
new person in isn't like it's not that drastic of a change.
Yeah.
I think Happy's English is really good as well, right? But Piggy and Django's is a little more like building there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Building there? What is it?
Well, I'm building there. I mean, they're building on it. They're working on it. It's like
Oh.
I don't know whether it's
You just said they're
conversational or
learning
whatever, or
English. Who
fluent.
builds their language up? Like
Yeah,
what kind of shit is that?
That's a fucking normal thing to say. All right. No. The point is the question. The point is the question. They're kind of they're getting to a fluent stage. They're not actually there yet. Is
Yeah,
that?
they
is that right?
at the very beginning it was like pretty bad. Like at the very beginning when we first started scrimming, it was like where it was like detrimental that they couldn't communicate with us. But
Right.
now it's like not a problem anymore. So it definitely is like.
I like their
We'll cut it out.
screaming in the background. If one of you got to get like a Go XLR and just record that, it's just something put on your
A sub
stream all the
sound.
time. Just a sub sound. Just whoever that is frantically shouting in the back.
Yeah.
That reminds me, we were talking about their English in the beginning. We were playing a sim comp. We were playing like Sim Rush or something, like Sim May. I don't remember the comp.
I was gonna say.
We're like, do not take TP. We know their English is really bad. Like in the beginning, we are like saying things really simple. We're like, do not take TP. No TP. No TP. Jangu, we fucking place the TP, and then Jangu takes the TP, and we're just like, bro. Like, it was so bad at the beginning. But
Right.
now you can have like conversations with him, and he understands like everything you say. So
So what was
not everything, but
I mean, that must have made the beginning of the season actually getting that makes me even more like that makes it even more wild that you came out of the gates playing incredibly well. Like you played against Dallas and Shock right at the beginning and you beat both of those teams. That baffles me a little bit if you were still having to develop that situation early on. Are we talking like way earlier? Like
I'm
very
talking about like
January.
Yeah,
okay.
January.
Very
So
beginning. Yeah.
we had like 3 or 4 months before the season started to develop their English. And
That's quite
Yeah.
unusual this year as well, isn't it? Normally we start in March or something, and teams don't actually have that long to prep. Am I wrong there?
Off season was
feel
like
I think
9 months. Yeah.
We started scrimming before a lot of teams.
a lot of
Right.
teams were waiting on visas and stuff, but we just started scrimming the Korean teams in APAC. We would just play on ping, the NA players.
Yeah,
Mm.
because our players are still in Korea.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Weren't you guys playing in like the middle of the night or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Go to the office at 10 p.m.
Yeah.
get home
Knock
at
on
6
schedule.
a.m.
That is
I
bonkers,
remember-
by the way.
I remember I was
That
like
was
Jake.
not
I was talking to
fun.
Jake about that or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That feels like it would be I mean, if you guys were losing as well at that point, I feel like your mental would be shot. You're waking up at 10 p.m. to get bodied by Korean teams playing on high ping.
Oh,
I'd be losing my fucking mind.
it was not fun because of the ping. I think we were doing like decent, and even
Okay.
when we would lose and stuff, we knew that it's like ping is a big handicap when you have 3 people on ping and APAC just fucking plays Sombra every map, so you just get hacked and there's nothing you can do about it.
Right.
So we were actually like playing with crutches because it
Getting
was so
flashbacks.
hard. Like it was so hard. Like when you're playing 200 ping Sombra or playing
Yeah.
against 200 ping Sombra, you turn, you break the hack, and it doesn't matter. It never matters. You just perma hacked. So
Can't do anything about pulse bomb. GG.
Yeah.
there were so many fights where we'd be like, well, if we just didn't die to ping right there, we'd have been fine.
But
As
I
for,
guess if you look back on it with hindsight, it was probably worthwhile doing all of that stuff to get in shape for the season, to fix all of
definitely.
the like comms issues, that kind of stuff. Right?
It's
yeah,
definitely worth it.
I'm glad we
100%.
started so early.
It's like it's got to be a huge advantage to have started that early.
What?
Yeah, that I think the biggest advantage was just the English, like getting everyone to like speak English and then working as a team, like just easy head
Yeah.
start.
Were there any specific things that you found were massive improvements at the beginning, like stuff that just clicked? Because the people often think of progress as being a steady upward slope. Sometimes it goes up in big steps. You figure something out and there's like, okay, big chunk improvement. And sometimes you go backwards for a little while as you're trying to integrate something quite complex. And then it eventually makes you like push a long way forwards. Were there any moments like that early on with this roster where either something clicked and you got dramatically better, or there were moments where there was like a big struggle to implement something, but it was good long term? Is there any specific examples like that come to mind?
I can definitely remember some days where we like talked about something specifically, like a strat or something, where we're all on the same page, and then we scrimmed and we just bodied the other team. But it's not. It wasn't like a. It wasn't like a. This is gonna be like this forever, long term thing. It's like we discovered some cool comp or something. So
Right.
as far as like an actual team thing, I can't recall anything like that. That's like a huge strat.
Yeah. It's just slowly over time developing, putting in the work.
Yeah.
What do you think about the argument, the Houston Outlaw detractors saying that you guys have had an easy strength of schedule at the beginning half of the season, and you guys have got it way tougher towards the end? If you look at the strength of schedule, it does look like you've got a tough end to the season, but you've also, part of what made that tough is like your initial game against the Shock, and you've beaten them, and then the game against Dallas, and I think you've got a great chance of being able to win there too. What do you even think about stuff like that when you're processing the season and going through it?
I think we just focus on the match ahead of us or this
Yeah.
week's matches. I don't even know who we play in stage 4, but
Yeah, I don't.
I don't really.
I'm like questioning, is our schedule even hard? Like I don't know.
I don't know what
Well,
the schedule is.
I mean,
This is your chance. Roast their asses.
well, we thought the schedule was going to be hard when we looked at it, and now when you look at it and you're playing against like the Washington, sorry, not the Washington Justice, the Florida Mayhem in like one of the final weeks, that it doesn't really actually look particularly hard anymore. It just looked like it from the beginning of the season. But yeah, there's like the Gladiators there, the Rain, Justice, Fuel. You know, like it's teams up at the top of the pack, but it is also a very competitive middle of the pack in North America anyway. This year, there's not really that much difference, it feels.
There's not many. There's not
like,
many free wins this year. I
5,
mean,
6
some
teams,
years, yeah. Some years you can get free wins in NA. I mean, there's only like, there's not many this year.
Yeah.
Wait, did we play Paris twice or just once?
Just once.
Yeah. It does feel
I
though
was
like
thinking that could have been like a team that was like they've gotten a lot better recently. So that could have been a team where you're like lucky to play them in the beginning, but then unlucky to play them at the end. I
yeah,
don't know.
'cause-
It's so weird because so many teams are kind of meta dependent, where they could just be gods in one meta and then just hard fall off in another meta.
well then
So,
how have you managed to be not like that? You know? Because I would say that most teams are like that almost. Like most teams get very different results depending on what the meta is. I think Houston in the past have been pretty much like that as well. Like if you could get playing some Winston or some Sombra or some Doom or something like that, it felt like it felt like watching a different team sometimes, watching the Houston Outlaws in those metas. But it feels like there's a threshold where you pass to become a great team where it no longer matters what the meta is. You've just fixed something about how your team functions where you're able to do it in any of the situations. How has the Houston Outlaws managed to avoid being meta dependent?
I think just having good coaching staff is really important. I think they teach you how to, or they don't. I mean, I guess they do teach you, but they'll develop us well. That way we can be meta proof. And it's also on the players. Like Jungkook is just actually really good at all main tanks. Like it's really, really good Ryan, really good Orisa, good Winston, really good ball. Like he's just solid on every hero. And then Happy's the same way.
Yeah, it
Even though we
helps.
mostly see him, like Happy's a weird player actually, because
What do you
most
mean?
most hitscan players can't play other things. Like, what are other hitscan players that can play like other roles? Maybe Lip.
Yeah, Lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I don't know. I just can't think of many. Like when I think of a lot of hitscan players, I think okay, they can only play hitscan. They can't play the tracer. They can't play the the sombra.
I guess
But
like
Happy's one of
Glister,
those players that can
maybe?
play it. Yeah, and like
Yeah.
Glister's a good hitscan, but I think Happy's just like one of those like crazy hitscan players. Like
Yeah.
you just feel afraid against him because he's just gonna hit every shot.
He has games where he just dominates, like
Yeah.
actually just takes over. What was it? It was a game you guys had earlier in the season. It was like a Temple of Anubis, where he was playing
Shock.
Hanzo. Yeah, the guy
Shock.
could, yeah,
Yeah,
he
like
could not miss. I mean, it was actually unreal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it just feels like so good to play with him because a lot of other hitscan players I've played with in the past, like Linkser, Baby Bay, and then just anyone in the past, I feel like there's been flexibility issues with them. Like, oh, if I play Sombra, then he has to play Tracer, but that's not good. If I play Tracer, he has to play Sombra. If I play Echo, he has to play like Tracer. And it just felt like there was always a hole. But I feel like when me and Happy
Is-
play together, there's just never really a hole.
Yeah, it helps a lot that everyone on our team is like pretty flexible.
Yeah,
Sure.
and then our
That we
supports
we
can
play
play
a lot of.
whatever.
Do you feel like that's something though that's changed over time, Dante? Where like some of those players were asked to play those certain roles, back in the day or whatnot, but like now, even in main support, right, or just support in general, the need to be extremely flexible is just way higher now than ever before.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the way the game's balanced right now. It's just really important that you can play multiple heroes because if a team brings out something that hard counters your hero, then you need to be able to play another hero at a high level.
Yeah. It does definitely feel like, I mean, player talent is really important. You can only go so far if you don't have the talent and the flexibility to be able to go alongside it too. Yeah, it's a wild thing to watch the Overwatch League develop so much and see the level of play and the level of player talent increase. And you have
You
to
used to get
keep
by
getting
with
better
like
and better and
one
better.
comp for a whole season. Like
Yeah.
you just have to play one thing for the
Yeah.
whole year and you're fine.
Yeah, it's wild. And like, here's my theory as well that I've been getting to recently too. This year, we've seen more and more non-Tracer specialist players be good at Tracer. Do you feel like that's another aspect where it's happening too? I mean, Dante, you're the guy that plays Tracer for the team the majority of the time. Although, I mean, actually, Happy could pick it up potentially if you wanted to play other stuff. That's part of what you were talking about. But on other teams too, we've seen like Sparkle play. Who else have we seen? Like Edison wasn't really a dedicated Tracer when he started playing it too. Lip wasn't particularly
Lip,
a Tracer player and he started picking it up too. It feels like there's a bunch of other people who have just got good enough, maybe at like the game of Overwatch, that you don't need to be hardcore specialist to be able to pull off. I suppose Glister, most recently for the Shock, has just started pulling out Tracer for them and looked good on it.
Yeah, I think if you're a good player, you can play. Like if you're truly a good player, you can play a lot of different heroes, and even though you're not the best on them, you can make it work. I think that's a lot easier to say for the top teams though, because if you put some of these players on like I think Sparkle has been really really good on Tracer for his team, but if you put him on a team like Spitfire or something, he probably wouldn't look as good. It's like Shax. Like
Sure.
Shax was really really good on Valiant, but Now on Spitfire, I don't think he's looked that good on Tracer, and it's like not his fault. But it's really hard to be one of it's really hard to play well when your team is losing every single game and you're not like extremely comfortable on the hero. But if you're on a good team, I feel like you can play any hero, and just as long as you're a good player, you can play it at a high level, like to look good enough on your team.
Is that because you can rely on your teammates to be able to assist you, and you only have to fulfill your role. You don't have to go like above and beyond to be able to just
Yeah.
like win.
I think that's it. Because I think I can play heroes like Doom and stuff with our team this year, because everyone's good and everyone will do their role, and they'll just make it easier for me. But in previous years, it'd probably be really hard for me to just like play Doom and like carry, just because I don't have that much experience on Doom. Like I have good ranked experience and stuff, but if Blase were to play it, like he just knows what to do in every situation, and he needs that because our team just isn't good enough to win with him just doing his job.
Yeah.
It was like me on Sombra. Um, like I think players that don't really play Sombra, they can look good on a good team just if they're winning. But if they were on like season 2 Houston Outlaws, they probably wouldn't look that good on Sombra just because it's fucking hard. You have to be really comfortable.
Yeah.
You even see that with Yaki lately. In their last game, he was like trying to carry on Tracer, but like not even able to do it. Like they've just been in such a rut.
Yeah, but I mean, for him, you can tell that he's outrageously skilled. Like that team could lose all the rest of their games for the rest of their life, and you'd still be able to tell that Yaki's a beast. You know,
their life.
He's just a fucking.
I mean, if they were losing games for the rest of their life, people would have fucking issues with Yaki. People.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean,
that would be an outrageous season of the Overwatch League. That's even more mental than 2018.
Hey, we've seen it before. We've seen teams lose an entire season before. Don't. I don't think anyone wants to have it happen again.
Yeah.
But
well, instead of talking about losing, I want to talk about winning. I want to talk about what's the ceiling for the Houston Outlaws. Where is what you said earlier on that your aspirations coming into the league were top 3, and you've been a bit like not upset, but like you feel like you've missed the opportunity a little bit of being able to get to Hawaii by now. That's kind of slipped you by, but you have 2 more opportunities to get to Hawaii, 2 more opportunities to win stage titles, and you have the playoffs at the end of the year. What do you think is the ceiling? What do you think is like a reasonable goal to set for this Outlaws squad? I actually want to ask Joobi this question particularly. Because you are coming in as a rookie straight from collegiate, doing like a jump that a lot of people haven't done. And I want to hear what your genuine expectations are. Like, it's your first year. What do you think is feasible? What do you think is possible here?
As of right now, I still think we're like far from being at our peak, and we're still really good. So there's like no ceiling. Like we could probably win everything, actually.
Right.
Like we still have a lot to improve on, and like we're still performing very good. So
Right.
like at our peak, we'd be unstoppable, I feel like.
What if you're saying at your peak you could be unstoppable, but you're not there yet? What do you feel like it would be slow development up in the end of the season and then peak then, or does that peak just feel like it's around the corner?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I kind of feel like it depends on a number of things, like the meta or something. But
Okay.
it feels like we're kind of close right now.
Okay.
Doesn't feel like we're far from it.
All right. Dante,
What about you, Dante?
Are you going to give the Outlaws fans the copium, the hopium that they've so desperately desired for years and years?
My goals, I want to go grand finals. I want to win grand finals, but I mean, being at grand finals would be an experience itself.
Sure.
I want to win like what's it called, Hawaii tournament,
Yeah.
monthly tournament. I don't know what they're called, but I want to win one of those, or at least play in finals. I just want the finals experience. That's my big goal.
Okay.
And obviously, I want to win it, but I'd be like, I would be sad if we lost in finals. But like looking back a year after the season, I'd be like, all right, like not that bad. You know, it's better than previous seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there any team?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, better than the last few. Are there any teams in APAC that you guys would really like to go up against? You guys haven't obviously played against any yet.
Shanghai. I want to play against Lip.
You want to Sombra diff him? Is that like the idea there?
No. NA doesn't play Sombra. NA just
Okay.
not a hero here.
So what you want to? Is there any when you do stuff like that? When you think about playing against certain people, do you think about them playing certain roles, or do you just think about the player itself?
I just I think that Lip is a really good player, and I think he can play a lot of different heroes at a high level. So that's why I'm excited to play against him. He plays like similar heroes. I guess he plays more on the hit scan side of me. So I think it's always exciting playing against players that are similar to you.
Where if we're saying the ceiling for the Outlaws is like right up there, what kind of signs would the fans be looking for that you're going in the right direction? Are we, because at the moment you guys are 9-1, everything's been going really well, but you still haven't quite made it to that level that you're talking about there, where you're winning Hawaii tournaments, where you look like if you went to the grand finals today, you'd be the team to win it. Like, your record is fantastic, but I don't think many people would point at you as this team right here is the favorites to win. So what is that like next step? What are the signs that need to be had? Is it literally just beating Dallas? Have we reached some fucking crazy Texas anime arc where it's genuinely they are the big bosses in front of you?
Maybe.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty like I'm sure everybody would think that if we beat Dallas, you're like, oh, okay, he's the best team now because Dallas won the May Melee and then they just lost to Shanghai, but they're considered probably the best team in NA right now.
Yeah.
So just beating Dallas, I guess that's what
Okay.
most people would think.
Yeah.
That's the sign
Well,
of the times.
Do you think?
Dallas and then winning Hawaii, that'd be the sign.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
Right,
I was gonna
right.
say, do you feel like at least going to Hawaii is a huge, just kind of confidence boost and everything else for the remainder of the season? Like at least making it once, right?
yeah, that would feel really good. I think just if we lose 3 times in a row on our play-ins to Hawaii, that'd be like a stab in the stomach. But making it there, it would feel really, really good, and it'd be really motivating for the rest.
Do we have any idea how the plans are going to work at this point? Is there any way of like, do you know who you might play or who you're likely to play, judging by seeding? Is that even possible to figure out at this point?
Or
in the
what?
tournament?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
for the
mean,
knockouts, because they're happening on this Sunday, right? So, in theory, you should be able to know roughly
there.
who you're playing.
I mean, there's a good chance that you guys could potentially finish in first if you win out. Which, I think if Atlanta continues to win out, because I looked at this before.
Matt, you are
potentially
normally
you can-
the person that does
Yeah,
all of
yeah.
this shit. He's got
Yeah,
like
I'm the
crazy
person that actually
calculations.
looks shit up. Yeah, that you potentially could actually knock Dallas down into like third, and you guys could end up with that number 1 seed to potentially like even avoid that matchup. So
Is there there doesn't actually seem to be a world where you have to go through Dallas again, right? Like, even if you lost to them, I feel like you wouldn't have to go through them again. I think you'll have a different opponent no matter what. I could be talking on my ass there.
don't jinx them like that. Yeah.
No,
who
I
knows?
know. But yeah, it's I think it's going to be interesting to see what would happen. You know, you get an opportunity to say, right, what would happen if we don't go up against the best team on our run? Plus, you guys are matching up against them in the regular season, so it's
You know what our luck is?
fun.
Not going against Dallas, and they lose first round. That's our luck. we go against like Glads, and then they just win Hawaii. That's our luck, actually. But no, that's not gonna happen because we're gonna win Hawaii.
Exactly. You're gonna be the team. You're gonna be the team that fucks up the other teams. You know, that's what you got to think. That's what you got to think. Next time, we're gonna make them mad that they had to face us. That's the way you flip it on his head. It must be kind of wild though to play for the franchise and have it like totally turned around. I know that the homestands have not been a thing, and you haven't probably had that much fan interaction. But Dante, can you feel a difference in terms of how people are thinking about the team, or is it lagging behind and yet to properly catch up? I see a lot of Houston fans who are saying stuff like, "This team is good, but I just can't believe in them. They're letting me down before," stuff like that, where it feels like the fan sentiment is lagging behind how successful your team is a little bit, you know, because of all the stuff that happened with former teams before. Can you feel the fan sentiment shifting from your point of view as like essentially a franchise player for Outlaws now?
I think people are like definitely more optimistic, but I guess they're just scarred from the past. You know, it's like you have fucking childhood trauma. You know, it's not gonna go away if things go good for a little bit. Like things gotta go good for a while.
Uh-huh.
So, uh, we'll keep doing well and hopefully make people get rid of that.
I wanted to
Yeah.
say, I obviously wasn't on the team before, but I think I always get pretty upset when people like compare us to like the Outlaws before because it's literally like a different team. Like
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
completely different team. Like how are you going to compare that? It's like
It's not even a
can't compare it.
player. Like
Yeah.
it's like one player.
Seriously, it's just Dante. Like
Yeah.
like it's a very stupid comparison to make.
Yeah. But I
old
mean, that's the entire
Outlaws.
way that the Overwatch League has been set up with the franchises, people attached to the teams. And I mean, yeah, it's been a total rebuild from top to bottom this year. And it's been, I think it's been one of the most successful rebuilds. It's kind of crazy how much the two Texan teams have mirrored each other, honestly.
Yeah.
Because they really have like both fully rebuilt at the same time, but in totally different ways. They just went to Rush. Okay, can you pick up your boys? And Junkbuck and Harsha tried to craft
Like,
this.
call
like,
the homies up. Yeah.
yeah, this crazy mixed roster. But it set us up for some sick games. I'm going to be looking forward to the battle for Texas too. It's this match that the Overwatch League has been pushing for ages, but now it's finally a genuine like premier tier game that we've got. Are we expecting any spice? Have you guys cooked up some crazy shit in the lab?
I don't know. Have to wait and see.
Okay.
Have you? I'm curious. I may have missed it. Do you guys have any like I know that I think they're doing like the Texas game like in the Arlington Arena. Are you guys doing anything for the game?
We have a meet and greet after.
Oh, nice.
And we're doing some other. I forgot the full schedule.
There's gonna be we're doing a meet and greet, but during the match is gonna be a watch party at a restaurant that delivers food to us like around the block from our office.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice,
Um,
nice. Yeah, it's a bit of a different situation for Dallas because they are actually playing in front of the crowd, aren't they? In like a similar situation to the Spark teams. Weird stuff. I mean, that's what you got to do during COVID. It's yeah, I'm itching to
Weird
get back
shit.
to live events. Yeah, weird shit where one team plays in front of the crowd but the other team doesn't. But that's the best you could do, I think. And at least the fans get to see it a bit. I appreciate the interview. Thank you very much for talking to us, man. It's been good. I wish you all the best moving forward too. We're gonna have more of these with other people too. So if you're interested, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and you'll be able to see interviews with other characters from around the Overwatch scene. And maybe
We'll just bring back Dante and Joobi every week. Get an Outlaws update every week.
Yeah, Plat Chat's partnered with the Houston Outlaws, so now we just get premier access to their players, and we're just going to keep cycling them on. We'll make another podcast with Harsha as well. We'll bring back Through the Grapevine. There's a reference to all the pre-Plat Chat.
Nobody's asking for that to come back. maybe one person in the comments who wants that one back.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you again, both of you, for the interview, and we'll catch you next time for another episode.